vehicles.
Jesus, you scared me.
The only thing to fear is fear itself. And unauthorized accessories. Did you know that unauthorized accessories may cause serious injury or
death?
And may also void your warranty.
I'm aware. Thank you.
You have selected
Death.
nosedive scheduled for.
Jesus. I need to sell this thing. I can't deal with this crap anymore.
Warranty is not transferable.
All right, now before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, I did want to offer some bit of information. And of course, the qualifier is this is as far as I know and as far as I've been able to find. So I've seen the driver type for the hub bolts on the Onewheel GT cited as being a Ribe or Polydrive type of bit, which are these, and specifically the size 8. And this does fit, however, the amount of play in that fastener is not very good. Kind of a lot of play in there. And this is a Torx Plus bit set, and it is also mentioned to be a Torx Plus 45, which also fits in the fastener. And you'll notice that there is much less play with that driver. So they are shaped relatively similar. However, the Polydrive Ribe bits are generally more squared along the flutes, and the Torx Plus have a much more rounded face around each flute, which the fastener on the GT hub bolts very much has. There's a roundness to either of those. And so between these two, it seems that the Torx Plus 45 drive is a much more accurate fit for these fasteners. And this is just a standard 3/8 inch square drive, so you don't really need a breaker bar to overcome the stock torque, and that should be it. Also, I'll link to this set, the Torx Plus set, in the description below, but another tip before, again, we get into the rest of the video, when it comes to resecuring fasteners, and I do this on most crucial fasteners, and these are no exception, you of course want to have the proper amount of torque applied to make sure that these are snug. However, you don't want to over torque it to the point that you're shearing off threads or possibly stripping out a fastener. So that being said, when I secure bolts like that, they often have a stock nylon thread lock patch on the threads, but those can get destroyed even if you remove it just once. And so I use blue Loctite 243. This is really good, especially for contaminated surfaces. It cures a bit better than 242. And so this is the medium strength blue, but what I use on the fastener after cleaning it off is this stuff. It is Clean and Prime. This is an anaerobic activator, and since these are acrylates, having an activator, even though the application of this on those fasteners is appropriate, having an activator not only gets this to cure much more quickly, the resulting thread locker is slightly harder. And so it will be a little bit more of a robust bond on the threads of these. And so I'll link to these as well. I am almost done with this can. I use it all the time. And these two are a magical pair, and I would recommend them to anyone that's doing this sort of thing.
So we're going to do a little tire change here. We're going to get that 6.5 inch Enduro on your GT here. And we're going to start with taking that fender delete off.
That's your favorite part?
It is. The first time taking it off, always a little rough, but I see we got the foamies for the homies on here, so you made some things easy for me.
Excellent.
The gentleman you're seeing perform the install of this particular tire is Russ, who runs Beast Coast Repairs out on Long Island in New York.
I'm just going to lose all your stuff. We'll come back for that. I have extras.
We'll sweep the floor. We'll find them all later.
You'll find a lot of stuff down there.
It's far east of where I live, so I went all the way out there to meet Russ, hang out at the shop, and grab some footage of a tire change. I really dig his setup. Russ is a cool guy, tons to talk about in and out of the Onewheel and PEV topics. I'll leave his info for you in the description below, so if you're interested, you can find him that way. So in this video, which I had originally intended on being much shorter, we're going to both install and discuss the new release from the Float Life, the Enduro tire for the Onewheel GT. This tire was sent to me by the Float Life, so of course keep that in mind when watching this video. Many sincere thanks to Jeff and the Float Life for the continued support. It really means a lot. Now for some backstory. The Onewheel GT has a hub motor whose rim size was increased by ½ an inch to a size of 6½ inches. This precluded the use of the currently and commonly available tires for every previous model aboard, and up until now, the only options were that of the stock slick and treaded tires. Naturally, aftermarket options would be released, and this is the model now offered by the Float Life. There is also an XR-sized model, but this video specifically focuses on the GT-compatible tire since it is, as far as I can see, quite different. The installation of a tire on the GT is very similar to what one would experience when dealing with a Pint. In effect, the GT is just a large Pint. Similar connectors, similar method needed with removing one rail in order to extract the axle mounts, and the rest is relatively the same. So we will power through the rest of this install with some front row seats to Russ's gun show.
Man,
Takes the falls, gets the shots.
these screws right here are the ones I see people commonly forgetting. I think for those that are unfamiliar with their process yet, and they just got their GT, these are the ones right here. I keep getting people bringing them in. They did their own bumper chains. They're like, I have a couple extra. Don't forget about these guys.
It's like when you're doing IKEA furniture. It's like, why do I have all these parts left over?
Yeah, you know, it's now just gonna pop down since we've taken our top screws out. We don't want to put any unnecessary stress on the sensor cable. So I usually put a little something under it, just so that way we don't put any stress. What's your favorite flavor of ramen?
Plain.
Plain?
This is the best flavor of everything.
We add hot sauce or anything to it?
Plain watered noodles with plain seltzer.
Hey man, whatever you're into. So I like to get this thing a little loose. I'm not gonna undo it yet, but we're just gonna loosen that up a little bit so we're ready to make moves when we get to that stage. At this point, break out my little trunk saver there. We'll actually take the opposite side with the hub bolts off first. So that way we can keep this pretty whole. We're just gonna take one rail off. So before I remove the hub bolts for the rail we're going to take off, I'm gonna loosen and remove the hub bolts on the opposite side. So that way we can just slide that hub right out. So there we are. Oh, a little one-trick wheel sticker right there.
Yeah, I mean, this is prime advertising space, because that's what shows up in ride footage.
I mean, it's the size of a billboard, these rails. I mean, you might as well use it. This is the side we're going to take off so we can remove our 4 rail bolts, excuse me. Before we hit the hub bolts, actually get this first. This is what clamps the wire in, so that way at least we can carefully remove the rail. The wire isn't still connected to it, and then we can disconnect our wire. So, that rail is lift right out of there. And as you can see, we took our little side piece off here, so now we can just remove the handle and the axle block in one shot. We'll put those aside for now. Because we removed those other hub bolts prior, and we got this side all clear, voila,
Nice.
comes right out. So we'll put that down just for now. And there you are. If you're left with this, just be careful, your axle bolt may pop out. Get your valve stem remover. Nice little leave the air in there, makes it interesting. Just be careful you don't shoot your valve stem across your garage. There she is.
Still hard as a rock.
I honestly think you could ride this thing empty. If you're under $120, I don't think you'd even know the difference.
So like 3 of me could fit on there.
Thermometer 50, right?
Yeah.
Man, that's a brick.
This one time I stomped on a 2x4 to take an XR tire off. I just broke the motor.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. I like pinch the motor cable.
And you should always use a nylon tire iron and not a metal one, so that way we don't damage our hub there.
Oh, I should have brought my drumsticks.
Oh yeah?
I use drumsticks.
That's a good one. What, do you use a 5A or do you have a 5B? You have a preference?
Well, I play with a 5A.
All right, is it a Vic Firth? I mean, what do we got?
So for the tires, I use a Vic Firth Dave Weckl Signature Evolution with the nylon tip.
Oh man, that escalated quickly. So we got that little bit off there. Honestly, these are the hardest tires I've ever ripped off a rim before. I did a treaded yesterday for these, and that was battle. So we got this off. So at this point, it's all about the motion. So we got that part done. We really just needed to push down, give it a little force. I also used a towel, because I don't want to crack anybody's rim or my own. So just the last part, we work it off, and there she is. Minimal sweat.
Wow, that is so poorly finished on the inside.
Yeah, what do we think of that? I don't know about you guys at home. I'm a slime guy personally. I know we like armadillos and some other things. Mario, what do we like? Flat out?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm a big flat out guy.
He's a flat out guy. There it is.
Been using them on wheelbarrows, occasional dirt bikes in my younger years. All that stupid people stuff. This stuff's been around forever. All the stuff that you can't do in New York City anymore.
Ah.
If they catch you on a dirt bike, they will confiscate it and crush it in a junkyard. So there's the XR tire. Here's the GT tire. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, that's
Thank
awesome.
you. Very kind of you, Jeff, to send this out and to, make the GT closer to what it should have been at launch.
You're gonna meet your GT for the first time today.
That's an excellent way to put it. I love it.
So, I know the trend has been to put it on backwards, but we're gonna go for the forwards. So, most of you used to an XR, you would put your hub on that side and put it in like that, because you're connecting it on the left side of the board. The GT is the opposite. We're actually connecting to the right side of the board. So, you're gonna actually insert from the right side of the tire. So what I like to do, just on an angle, a little bit on the bias, give it a little push. There it is. And no lifesavers, right? All right, flip this guy over.
We'll keep
Now,
it plain Jane for today.
a lot of people really work hard on this part, but it's not that bad. You want to push it on the angle, and you start pushing forward. And there it is.
Nice.
Nice and easy. So we're going to do the fun part now. We're going to seat the bead.
Yay.
My compressor is very loud. It's going to come on at the slightest bit of breaking a sweat. So I apologize for the loud noise, people at home. She's on.
Yay.
My gauge is not very accurate though, so that did not really seat at 50 PSI.
It's
It's
fine.
sitting around 21 typically.
Point is, it's on.
It is on. And what is your desired PSI, sir?
I guess we'll start at 20,
Yeah?
18.
I've been doing 12, honestly.
All right, so we'll try 15.
You want to do 15? I'll meet you in the middle.
Yeah.
We negotiated. We did a little horse trading there. Yeah, this tire actually rides nice at a low PSI on pavement or on trail. 15.
Sweet.
Bada bang. We get our wire out of the way. We have half of our board here. Well, first off, you notice there's that notch right there. So make sure that matches up with the notch right here. I like to put it at 12 o'clock is how I put it. Battery side is much heavier, so you should be putting some pressure on the controller side just so it's even. We don't want to drive anything home. Cross-threaded or anything of that nature. There we are. It's very simple. Sometimes it's kind of unsatisfying or unfulfilling. It doesn't feel like it's in there, but it is. So let's grab our rail.
Are you suggesting that something about the Onewheel GT is unsatisfying?
You know,
I've never heard such blasphemy.
they're few and far in between, but I'm sure we could find an opportunity here or there. When I put this one back on, I like to put the notch to 6 o'clock facing me, just so I could see what's going on here. We'll get everything lined up. TP45 plus here. Also, Mario's is in good shape, but once in a while, check. If you like your handle, check your bolt to make sure it's in. They come out pretty easily. And then otherwise, you have a rattling handle, so that's a good time to take a peek and make sure your handle is tight. So we made sure we pushed our wire down so that way we can get that little piece on there with ease. Once the rail's on and everything's tight, it is hard to negotiate getting that wire back into place. So now that we're putting everything back together, remember the 6 shortest screws you will save for the bottom. All the other screws we will use are the larger ones. They're all the same size. So we'll start with the top. Now, be very careful. I like to start with the top screws, you know, trying to flip this over without putting any stress on our sensor wire there. So we're over, gonna line that up. I like to do a little visual, make sure everything's hunky-dory. Our foamies for the homies looking good there. Front bumper, like the Pint, slides right in. There it is. Nice and snug. We'll make sure everything's lined up. Just gonna go for style points here. We'll put our delete back on. It's always a little tight getting over that handle. Sometimes it's hard to have finesse, but as you see, that one went in pretty good. Finesse is rare for me, but I will take that moment right now. All right, last one. And to seal the deal, let's make sure she works.
Imagine.
Bada bang.
She looks angry.
She looks ready to go. It's a good looking board.
She doesn't like the aftermarket accessories. They void her warranty.
Oh man,
Yeah,
they're gonna send you that in the mail.
She's gonna let me hear it later.
There she is, guys.
And it didn't explode.
No,
Remember, it's the most important thing. As long as there's some magic smoke, then I consider that a success.
looking good to me.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for stopping by.
Of course. I appreciate the help.
Hey, my pleasure as well.
So, how is the tire? It is very, very good, but also very different. After some time getting used to the low quality, very unforgiving stock tire, having something with such a different build and such soft rubber compound was a massive departure. On the rubber compound specifically, it is amazing. It is very soft, something I appreciate a lot, and the ride feel that results is just joyful. It doesn't seem particularly long lasting, but the miles that one would get out of this tire will be much better spent, and I think that that's a worthwhile trade-off. When I can choose a tire compound, I end up going for the softest available anyway, and this doesn't feel too different from the Hoosier D10A tires that I've come to prefer. The tread pattern on the Enduro is subtle, and because of its relatively shallow cut, there's nearly no vibration or noise on pavement. The vibration and sound of a treaded tire are really what kept me away from them. Since I'm not much of an off-road rider, the extra traction didn't offer enough over the weird ride feel of a treaded tire. The tread of the Enduro, however, is so different that it feels just barely there on pavement, and I don't notice any real difference from a slick. Again, something I really appreciate. The body, shape, and profile of the tire is also pretty different. To simplify it, it feels really close to the old Hoosier 5.5-inch treaded tires. Those had a couple variations of their profile, but they were always very turny, and they really took some getting used to. The GT Enduro is also very turny, but in a weirdly good way. The turn is surprisingly consistent, it's very easy to control, and it's fairly uniform from toe to heel. So despite it being easier to turn than the stock slick tire, the turns themselves are more even and less squirrely. If I were to hazard a guess as to why that is, I'd say that the soft, pliable carcass of the Enduro and the very minimal sidewall support cause it to sort of squish and mold to the ground during a turn, and then kind of balloon back to center at the end of a turn. By the same token, the shoulders and edges of the tire are way more forgiving on rocks, cracks, and bumps. Currently, I have the tire at about 15 psi, and ground imperfections seem to just melt into the tire. This leads to experiencing fewer and less severe torsional changes during any given ride, and that also offsets the narrower center of the tire. Now, the Enduro is not a cheap tire, but at this point, there really aren't many cheap tires that I would buy anymore. On the XR, my preferred tire has always been the 11 by 6.0 in D10A, and you kind of just can't buy that tire at regular kart tire stores anymore. So if you search around, they're all just out of stock at the regular lower price, or they just cost over $120 anyway. It's unfortunate that gone are the days that you could toss $80 down at Jegs or Summit Racing and get a great tire. But enough of that, the Enduro tire rides really well, and I am very happy with it. The price tag at this point is fairly reasonable, and the top tier service at the Float Life really shines through. The few cases where I've seen someone with an Enduro have any kind of issue, Jeff has always been quick to respond and replace it. I can only imagine that the upcoming batches of the Enduro will get better, and it's good to support companies that focus resources on alleviating the frustrations that come with new releases such as the Onewheel GT. As always, very much appreciate your viewership, so thank you for watching, and take care of yourselves.